fine, told you my city was the best, and my city was a threat to the rest. And my city was a threat to the rest. This city is my city, and I love.
It's C3 Corey here. Getting into my second part of Little Bunnie Foo-Foo, if you didn't know. I'm going to be talking today about the different variants, the two main ones anyways, but here we go. Okay, so as everyone knows, there are two main variants to the Rabbit deck. There is the version that I am playing currently, the version that plays no hand traps, because you are playing Macrocosmos. So in place of the hand traps, you have to kind of compensate for it, and that's why in my build personally I play two Fiendish Chains. Now the main thing to remember about this card is that it's, I don't know, my only problem with the Fiendish Chains, I should say, is that it doesn't get rid of the monster necessarily. I mean, I play other cards like that. I mean, Veiler doesn't get rid of it either, but I don't know. I can't explain it other than that. In this build, it's really good, though, just because you do play a lot of back row. You don't play Veilers because you main this card. Now, how many of this card? I will get to that in a second, actually. And the extra deck also becomes a little bit more constrained because you play Starlight Road. So you have to play the Stardust. Well, you don't have to, but I mean, it would be optimal if you did, I should say, because you are playing such heavy back row. This version plays, I believe, I think close to 20 traps, I want to say. I think I have my count right. It's a little bit less than that, I believe. But this is one variant of the deck. I'll get to how many macro that you should play to make it optimal. But I'm going to touch base on the kind of the older build, I guess you could say, that has been that we've been shying away from just because the meta changed. And I don't know, I don't like this version as much. I would much rather main macro. It hurts more decks than it does, you know, become a dead card against a lot of other matchups. But the other version, it wouldn't play these cards. I mean, you can still play Fiendish, of course, and Starlight Road, and then side the macros, but which I believe the deck does. I haven't played that variant in a long time, but you also get these back. These can be huge cards, like such big advantage just from these three cards. But I don't know, in my testing with Macro Rabbit, I have not missed them. I really haven't. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I've learned how to play the deck so well already, but I mean, there's still more that I can learn, but I mean, I've been playing the deck since it came out. But you do get to play these cards if you do not play macro, of course, or heavy back row. You also get to play, you know, the game-winning Gores. But here's what I was talking about on my last video, and it's going to be the hand traps. If you don't want to play Veilers, if you don't want to play Maxis, you don't have to in this variant. You can play kind of the light, well, I guess the Chaos Rabbit build, I guess you could say, the one that was maining BLS. I don't like that build very much, because if you don't see your Thunder Kings and your Effect Veilers, which I talked about last week, this card is not optimal this format just because of Mermails. You know, I don't know, just not enough decks get hurt by this. I mean, you could always side the Veilers, as I had mentioned, but I don't know, it's your preference really. But as far as the variant goes, there's the one that can main all of these, So all the hand traps, the goers, the monster reborn, the heavy storm, and then there is the removal one that you play macro and fiendish chains and blah blah blah, all this back row. If you are going to play the macro variant, my magic number is 2. Just in testing, it has been very consistent for me. Even in the times when I don't get this card, I mean, I open with it, quite a bit for some reason. I don't know why, but I open with this card quite a bit. And this card just wrecks the meta. It wrecks Mermills. Surprisingly, it even hurts your worst matchup, Heroes. I mean, it absolutely destroys Chaos Dragons if they can't get their Lila. Or if you have, I don't know, stuff like that. I mean, Lila and Raikou in that deck are an out to it, but I don't know, if you can play around those two, then you're fine. With this build, you should be able to. You play Compulses, you play Fiendish Chains, you play Bottomless for the Lila, you play so many outs to their Spell and Trap Destruction. I mean, except for their MSTs, of course, but against Dark World, it's amazing because for the most part, they don't play MSTs. I mean, I've seen some builds that play it, but for the most part, they don't. And what I'm doing currently is siding the third macro for those matchups that really need it, like Mermills, Chaos Dragons again, as I had mentioned. I mean, there's many different Dino Rabbit variants. These are the most prevalent too, I would say. Yeah, I would say those are the main 2 variants. Macro, I feel, is the stronger of the 2, as I had mentioned, just because it's so good against the meta right now. Just amazing against the meta. In my next part, I'm actually going to be talking about the extra deck and your choices, just because there are so many rank 4 exceeded that are out now. And then I'm also going to talk about so your different techs, and then also the extra deck, and then also what techs you can play in the deck that help for that extra stun, or just ideas that I've gathered from people. I mean, I'll show you my build on the next video as well. I've updated it a little bit since Seattle. Yeah, that was just purely a meta call for Seattle, maining the Vanishers. People liked it. I liked it. Some people hated it. I still liked it. But anyways, yeah, I mean, I've seen people play Defissure instead of Macro just for that first turn so they can't get Valor to max seed, but I don't know. I think Macro is just the superior card. It just... Because even if you play Mermills or Mermill Lantians or Water Deck or whatever you want to call it, and you have a Defissure face up, the materials are still going to go to grave. If they go Gotchi with Diva, they'll just, or, whatever, Digustle Phoenix with it, they'll just attach and blow up your Defissure. I mean, I don't know. Macro, in my opinion, is just so good this format. But that was it. That's the end of part 2. I hope you guys liked the video. If you have any suggestions on what I should talk about next on my next part, or the one after that, since I've already decided on this one, go ahead and leave a comment below down there. And yeah, once again, shout out Vexigus4666, Anthony